Different nose things.
Yeah, you need different nose things. You can do it all in the same port. I don't think you can do multiple SSLs on the same without having to do a lot more magic. It is possible, but highly discouraged. I know there's Dan's Guardian, which is the big squid-based open source content filter. I've used that on IP Fire before. It works very good. That's the one that would prevent kiddo from going to whitehouse.com instead of whitehouse.gov. I'm glad someone got that joke. It also has dashboard widgets for a lot of that stuff. It will do mail filtering. It will do radius authentication. You can also use, I actually have the VPN here set up to radius authenticate against my AD infrastructure. So when I connect it to my open VPN, I put in my username and password for AD. It encrypts that within this pre-made certificate and uses that for an authentication layer. So I actually have two-factor authentication set up to VPN into my house. So I have to have a ticket and I have to know something. If someone were to hypothetically steal my laptop, they wouldn't get very far. I don't really store anything interesting on it. It's all on various other things. So, any other questions?
VPN.
VPN, yes.
That's why there's nothing on your lap.
That's pretty much why I keep nothing on the laptop, yes. So I'll VPN into my house to work on stuff, and I'll VPN into work to work on stuff, although not from this one. I have a work laptop for that. Yes, sir?
Does all the software support IPv6?
Most of it does. Not everything does. It is a per application. Most of the applications are now IPv6. My particular ISP has not yet gone IPv6, so.
But pfSense fully supports it.
Yeah, pfSense itself fully supports it, not a problem. I actually need to go in and turn it off. Internal network, same thing. Some applications will, some won't. You're starting to see a push to get there because now that all of the IPs have been allocated, there's a crunch coming. There's going to be a day soon when someone asks for an external IP address and won't be able to get one. So, I mean, and there's a plethora, obviously, of apps. I'm not going to go through all of them.
There's so many different plugins.
Yeah, and some of them do the same thing. Some of them do other things. Nmap is an option, so you can do internet scanning if you so desire. There's a webmail scanner, so you can use it as a mail relay and scan your mail as it's coming in. NTOP, that's probably similar to the one that you were thinking of. It's also called E3, or used to be called.
It used to be. I think it's a fork of E3. But the installation, you click the plus on the side, and that's it. It just installs it really fast.
Here's how it is to install something. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yep, and it's going to install it. That's it.
You wait patiently for a second.
Well, if you own the hotel wireless.
Well, this is doing it at his local.
Yeah, that's going to do it. That's actually going to do it at my house. I'm just watching it through the hotel wireless. Yeah, I know. Hotel wireless probably has been just phenomenally good.
Yeah, it needs to be smart. You got to be unrestricted for IPs.
Of course they do.
Which probably is why they actually survived the weekend. Well, it went down once that I know of.
Well, that's actually kind of impressive, considering I've done the wireless for past Penguicons. I just didn't have time this year. And I did the same thing. I would limit you.
Yeah.
I just had more powerful caching proxies than apparently they did. Because I never had a problem doing it. And I don't think a lot of other people complained, but as I said, too many things going on. So it's going to install this package, and then it will drop it under services probably, and then I'll be able to configure it. And that's really all there is to it. It's really easy to set stuff up.
Yep.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, it builds the menus on the fly, so you don't have to restart your firewall, you don't need downtime.
Another thing you can do with pfSense that I forgot to mention, you can actually team them. So you can have a hot and cold backup. And if one goes down, it just rolls over to the other one, and your users don't notice. Now, do you need this in your home network?
Yes.
No.
Fine.
I can barely convince my wife to let me spend money in servers once every couple of years. Oh, honey, I need both full redundancy for that, so you can watch Netflix. No, that one didn't fly. Not for lack of trying. But then my electric bill, which is already $150 plus a month for a little 1,600 square foot house, would probably double again. I'm already having trouble explaining to her why it's sometimes $250 a month.
Netflix.
Yeah, honey, if you watch this, no, she's not buying it. So, yeah, but
Joanne watches it and her electric bill's only $80 a month.
yeah, Joanne doesn't have an enterprise server running her basement. On a happy note, you know what? My basement's always warm in the winter now. Between the Windows server and the VMware server and the other server, I walk over to and I have them all racked. I have a rack, and I just kind of sit there. And it's nice and warm, and I never have to run even a fire. My wife looks at me like I'm crazy. She's probably right. So
Saves on your gas bill.
a little bit. Unfortunately, not enough to really notice because the electric bill balances that out. So, going back to our NTOP discussion, we can figure out where it is.
How many shadows?
We gotta refresh the page.
It might be under status, actually.
Reload the page and we'll add it.
Actually, I did have a quick question. Is there an easy way to see the average bandwidth usage?
Absolutely. Actually, I think that one I do have installed. There we go. Yes, I do have it installed. System, traffic. This one's 8 hours.
You see the spike in download package.
Yeah, you do, and you'll see a little bit of spike because when I was playing on the internet last night, here I am doing research for this project, and here I am, I'm probably doing something else. Yeah, it was me pulling down a DVD and needed.
Where's the Netflix?
You know, surprisingly enough, my wife works weekends, so there's no Netflix over the weekend. So it doesn't show up nearly as well. It's usually a 3 or 4 meg spike, and I can tell when somebody's on Netflix that you should watch. Okay, let's go up, and it just sits there. Here's a 1 week average, and that's a 1 day. Here's a 1 week average.
What's your pipe?
I have a 16 meg 2 right now. I have wide open west business, so I actually get 5 extra in one piece. Hence the, gee, I can put a honey pot out. And the network is pretty noisy. I had to do some tuning when I started recording stuff this long. I was getting 2 gigs a day of firewall data coming in. I had to do a little bit of pruning. Part of that is Wide Open West has some sort of PXE server that attempts to hand stuff out on an internal network all the time. Every time somebody gets in, hey, you want to boot? Yes, sir.
That's related to their cable modems.
I suspected that it was something the case.
I've actually talked to them, I have Wide Open West as well, I've talked to them about it. That's part of how they do updates. When they need to update your cable modem, if there's certain settings they change, they can force a reboot and then tell it to block this. It's weird.
I've never seen it that noisy. I'm like, why is this all the time?
The fact that it's always on is the question for me.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can't win all the fights. They're the ones paying for all that bandwidth.
And they're also not capping.
No, they're not. That's one of the reasons I haven't moved.
Exactly.
Yes, I can get faster service elsewhere. However, they don't ask any questions when I download a terabyte in a month.
So, Steve Gibson has a term that I love for all of he calls internet background radiation. It's out there. You know, the Nimda worm is still swimming around in the internet somewhere.
Yes, it is. Yes, there is a lot of I call it noise. I also sometimes consider the internet the wild, wild west because really anything can happen out there. And there are sometimes little sheriff, you're the sheriff of your little company, if you're a security guy trying to hold back the hordes, but from a defensive standpoint, it's not a winning battle. You're always reacting, you never get to be ahead of time. And you can't just counter-hack the little kid in China that's sending you lovely little scripts that shut random things down. All the thing you can do is counteract your brilliant admins who think it's okay to open up 80 authentication of the internet wide open. They wondered why we said no. Like, really? Do you need an example?
We needed the ports open for Minecraft.
Yes, I'm sure they needed 445 open for Minecraft. Let me tell you how that ends. Everyone comes in Monday morning and everyone's account's lost.
So we got about 5 minutes if there's anything else.
Yeah, anyone have any other comments, questions? Because that's about all I had. Yes, sir.
I might also recommend OpenWRT.
We actually talked about that a little bit.
And,
Or
you also-
DCWRT and OpenWRT, yeah.
Well, I noticed the OpenWRT also has a package system, so you can just click one and add and open VPN, for example.
Yeah, you can, and because I have the VMware environment and I can run a little more robust stuff, I choose to do this. You certainly can do other stuff. There's no end to what you can play with on this. I found to be an extraordinarily powerful package of fun little things to do. Yes, sir.
A couple things actually. One, I started out with IPCon a long time ago. When it stagnated, I was switched to Zero Shell. And Zero Shell is mostly free. They got like a reporting module that's not free, but it does most stuff that IPCon does. Another thing is on Ubuntu, they have a front end IP tables called UFW.
I've used it.
Yeah.
I was singularly unimpressed.
Well, there's a graphical front end on top of that called GUFW, and because UFW has the concept of application profiles, you can make, well, essentially it's an INI file for each application that lists what ports it uses. So if you're setting up a game server, you just pick the name out and it sets the ports up. I wrote like 200 profiles for that, and you can get it as part of the GUFW package. In addition to that, a lot of the systems I set up for home users, for kids and stuff, so I've dealt a lot with Dance Guardian, and it's got a lot of limitations. One thing is it's got poor maintenance. It's like one guy just sort of keeping it going, but they need help. Second, it's useless on anything that's encrypted, so it's just HTTPS. It's not going to help you.
Everyone's gonna switch to SSL now, so it breaks some of the filtering.
Yeah, and that's a problem that isn't just in the home user land. That's something that companies and corporations are also facing, that particular hurdle, for the same very reasons. It's not like 5 years ago when Google chat was unencrypted. Now everything's SSL, and you have to get pretty powerful hardware and do some shenanigans on your internal network in order to crack open that SSL. It can be done.
Supposedly Squid has an interface for that. Essentially, it's got a lot. Dance Guardian's got a pre-programmed interface, and so it can essentially do a man-in-the-middle attack. So it uses a local key
on the
the
browsers.
browser.
Yes. It does tend to break browsers. The other thing you can do is set up an internal certificate authority and then do a certificate authority. That's how a lot of corporations I know that have worked around the problem do it. That's getting into more advanced stuff. pfSense does have a certificate authority built in. You would have to allow it in the browsers beforehand. Sometimes you can do that through policy if you're set up to do that sort of thing, or you can do it manually.
Another problem I run into it, it's not sure that Dance Guardian, but just Squid is a lot of apps do not handle proxies right. They're a pain to set up, allow them to ignore a system like proxy settings. Flash is horrible.
Yes, well, Flash is horrible for many reasons.
But that's the thing is like even an app that support proxies, like a lot of multimedia players, if the player may support it, but then there's modules for all social media aspects of it, and those modules may not support the proxy, so it's really hit or miss.
Yeah, and that's a per application. You can always control it. Nothing's perfect, especially if it's free. There's a lot of great free stuff. Dance Guardian is an example. I think there were a couple other Squid-esque proxies out there. I worked for a company that actually did all of their proxies were all Squid. And I don't remember what they used on top of that, but it was a commercial service that worked on top of Squid to do all of their lists. It's been a couple of years. I can't remember what it was, but there was one.
OpenDNS is a simple solution that works really well too.
Yes.
You servers via PFSense, lock them into one DNS, and block port 53, and there you go.
And you can set up DNS in here to forward if you're using this for DNS. If you're not, you can forward your whatever you're using. I've got mine running at home. I currently point to the root server, so you're not supposed to do that. One of these days, I'll set up open or a DNS provider. So, questions, comments? I think I'm just about out of time, so you win.
Okay, well, this is kind of a dumb question, but speaking of shenanigans, are there plugins for upside down internet or any other fun things like that?
You can program that all through Quip if you want to. That's where those shenanigans were usually previously programmed. And you can always edit it by hand. I have not personally had to do those shenanigans because I'm a little bit aggressive in my WPA2 settings. I'm at this point actually radius using authentication into my AD infrastructure for my home wireless. Drives my wife crazy. Because then I make her change her password every 90 days. Not popular, but. So, I'm out of time. I have to yield the room to the next contestant on that this talk is right.
Thanks a lot.
So, thanks.